Before you go spending $155 on the Oxford Inflator, let me show you this free alternative called the Cambridge Bloatinizer. Yeah, it's actually called that. The Oxford Inflator can be kind of a confusing plugin. We all know that it adds loudness to the mix, but it kind of does some insane stuff under the hood. So let's take a quick look at what it actually is. On their website, it says it breathes life into your sound by adding loudness without sacrificing sonic quality or dynamic range, adding power and presence to your mix without the pumping of compression or use individual channels to bring them forward and add weight. Basically, a lot of mumbo jumbo, some craziness going on. So let's jump into the mix and let's take a look at both of these plugins so you can have a good idea if it's worth spending the money. All right, so we have a beat here. One of them we have the Oxford Inflator on, and the other we have the Cambridge Bloatinizer. That name still gets me, but let's go ahead and just take a look at the Oxford Inflator first so we know kind of what we're basing it off of, and then we'll jump into the Bloatinizer and see how it compares. Here's the Oxford Inflator. It's a pretty simple plugin to use. Really, you're just going to want to make sure that your input is gain stage to about 0 dB. So I usually don't touch that, and then all that's really left is to boost up some of the effects. You can obviously play with this curve, and it's going to add some sort of a saturation curve to it and make it sound a little bit different. I use this from time to time, but really, I'm just going right in here. But let's jump in here and start adding some effects. First, let's hear what this beat sounds like out of the box. I'm just going to turn this thing off. I purposefully picked this mix because it's very busy, so we'll be able to get a really good idea of what's happening. So let's just start applying some of these effects. You can hear when we turn that all the way up, the bass just gets kind of out of control at that point. So we definitely wouldn't go that crazy with it. Let's go back down and find a happy medium. So if I was going to use this on my mastering chain, I would go somewhere about 26 because I'm going to be using other plugins in my mastering chain that will add loudness and warmth to it as well. So I don't need to use just this. Let's now hop over to the Bloatinizer and see how that feels. Right out of the box, when you load in the Bloatinizer, you're going to notice it turns the effects up to 50%. So it's going to crank right in your face from the start. Here's without it. On the website, they say the same thing with this plugin. You want to get this input to be right about 0 before you start to apply the effects, but in our case, we're good to go here. So let's crank this thing all the way down and start going up. And what you will notice, if we jump over to session view, look at, you're going to see that it's starting to hit over the threshold, over 0 dB. So with this plugin, we do have to gain stage with this output right here manually, whereas the inflator does that automatically for us. So what were we, 1.4 over? So let's go ahead and turn this down like 1.3. Let's turn this off now. So we're at about 15%, and I'd say we're roughly in the same ballpark as the other plugin. It's obviously not going to be perfect because I don't have perfect ears. But yeah, it definitely feels like it's adding some warmth, it's thickening it up, and it does sound a little bit louder. But let's go ahead and compare the two tracks now and see how they sound. For some reason, this Cambridge one actually sounds a little bit cleaner, so that has me thinking that we actually didn't push it as much as we thought we did. So let's push it a little bit further. I want to kind of battle them so they're neck and neck. In fact, let's turn this up to 26.7 because maybe it is closer than I originally thought. Okay, now let's compare them. We will go for the Oxford Inflator first. Guys, they sound almost identical to me. Are you hearing the same thing? Definitely comment below. These almost sound like they are pushing the same amount of effects, so maybe I was wrong about that, because they do sound very similar in the depth, how warm they are, and the overall loudness. It's crazy. Now let's see if we go ahead and take this bloatinizer and start pushing it, cranking that bad boy up. Let's see what happens here. So one thing that I've just noticed as I'm listening to it is right when we're around like 58% like it is right here, it feels like it seems louder and more present than it is when we push it up even higher. See if you notice the same thing here. You know what just happened? I was watching the volume levels and it is kind of turning it down as we get higher. Look at when we're at this 50%, you can see we're tipping over about 0.4, but if we go all the way up, we're down to -2. So there is something going on with the algorithm that was used to create this plugin where it's kind of a little bit wonky. But hey, this is a free plugin, so you're going to expect a little bit of wonkiness with it, right? But what happens if we turn it down just a little bit? Is it going to go down even further? I don't know. So it does really seem like at 50%, it's the loudest. And then when you go up, it starts getting quieter, as in it's turning the volume down. And as we go down, it gets quieter too. So it almost seems like the middle is that sweet spot. But it's getting quieter in the sense of the volume, not necessarily the effects that are being applied to it. So that is something to keep in mind. But let's jump over to this website really quick and make sure that's not by design. So it doesn't look like that was the intended purpose, but this is the Cambridge Bloatinizer. I'm going to leave this link in the description below, so if you guys want to go check it out, it is free. You can donate some money to the creator if you'd like to do so, but it's not required, so that's pretty dope. I would say it's a little wonky, right? But it sounded pretty dang close when we set it at that 26%. So instead of paying $155, I think definitely check this one out, give it a try, and it might be able to do effects in small amounts. If it's in small amounts, I'd say it might be reliable. It might be more reliable, but maybe your ears are hearing something different than mine. So definitely let me know in the comments below if I'm crazy. Did it sound completely different to you? Was it ridiculous? Am I just out of my mind here? Let me know. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching this one all the way to the end. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet, and slash that like button. Yeah, slash it with a scimitar. All right, man. But besides that, I'll catch y'all again in the next one. Peace out.